Hello, good folks of the internet. My name is Kelly. I am a part-time reseller on eBay, Etsy, and Poshmark. And this is my first video, so thank you for joining and for watching. I decided to make videos because, or at least try making videos, I should say, because I've had a really great time over the last year and some change that I've been reselling online, and I've had an opportunity to get some great information from other people. So I figured it would be kind of fun to share what I know. I am by no means an expert, but if there's questions or things that you have, always feel free to ask in the comments. I also am doing this as a little bit of accountability. I have a lot of unlisted inventory. Over the last summer, my husband and I undertook a remodeling project here in our house, and that did not stop my shopping though. So all of my eBay stuff was packed away with the exception of my listed inventory. And so I kept sort of shopping at church bag sales, at thrift stores, just like I was able to continue listing, which I wasn't. So I have quite a bit of unlisted inventory. And so my goal is to hurry it up now that I have my new office. You'll see the lovely mess behind me, and there's more that you can't see. But really my goal is to try and get some of this listed so that I can get back to, you know, the piece that is my super duper favorite, which is finding a great deal. I love to shop church rummage sales, bag sales. I have a thrift store near me that does a weekly sale that's pretty bomb, and so I have the opportunity to get a lot of really good inventory at good prices. I tend to specialize in vintage and modern clothing, shoes, accessories, but frankly, I will sell anything that I think I can make money on. So if that is something that's interesting to you, or you think that you'd like to follow along, feel free to subscribe to my channel. At least for now, it's going to be pretty unprofessional, and I'm okay with that. I'm just filming on my camera, on my phone. I'm not planning on doing any editing, so you're going to hear all the ums and ahs and all of that kind of stuff. If you hear any noises, I have two dogs that are sleeping underneath my desk. I have a oil diffuser going on in the background, and if there's any other interruptions, it could very well be my family. So I got a little bit of quiet time. They're off seeing a movie, so I figured I would use that to try and shoot my first video. So as I mentioned, I'm not really planning on doing a lot of shopping, but I will still share what I'm planning on listing. That's kind of my my plan for some of these videos, is to say, what am I pulling out of my back inventory or my unlisted sort of death piles, and what am I planning on listing? So that's kind of what I plan on sharing here until I get to a place where I can do some sort of fresh new hauls. With that said, my mom is also a reseller, and she was in town this weekend, so we were bad and went to a church rummage sale they were having a bag sale on Saturday, so we went and did that, and then actually ended up going to a thrift store that we haven't been to in the past. So I figured I would share some of that stuff and just kind of give you an idea of the sort of things that I like to pick up. If I share anything in here that you're super interested in buying, feel free to comment below, and maybe we can work something out outside of Poshmark or eBay and save us all a little dough. So I'll jump right into it. I've got a basket next to me and some stuff laid out, so I'll just share what I've got. So one thing that my mom and I actually fought over is we found this Land's End. It looks like brand new, but it's a Land's End sort of Easter basket, and it's got these sweet little chicks and Easter egg on it, and so I snagged that. I like doing vintage eyeglass frames or name brand eyeglass frames, so when I walked into this particular sale, there was a shoebox that had a bunch of them, so I didn't even really look through them. I just sort of grabbed them all and tossed them in. It was a bag sale, so why the heck not? So some of them I have multiples of. If I have multiples of something, I will probably just list them together. But you can see, you know, some of these are a little bit older. These ones aren't super old, but there's a couple in here. Like this one is really heavy, and you can see it's got that bigger 80s, 90s kind of frame. And the color is actually super interesting. It's like a bronzy orange. You can see it a little bit better. Try and stay out of my light. On the arms. So just some, like these are a set of two that you can see there. Right there. They're the same pair, just one has a sunglass lens, one has a regular lens. just a couple more here. So when the price is right on these, I'll usually pick them up, and if it turns out that the frame or whatever isn't really worth much, I'll just redonate it. And there's a lot of organizations that actually collect you know, used eyeglasses and then have prescriptions put in them for low-income or homeless people. So I'll redonate them there. These I thought were really cool. They're a frameless glass, but I thought that the bands on them were just super, super cool. So, and then I picked up a case. It's a zipper sort of clam case. I always ship out my eyeglasses with a case because it helps keep them safe while they're in transit. I grabbed this little baby size Disney mini hat. It's a size 6 to 12 months, and it's got like the cute gingham on here, and it's not a hard bill. I picked up a pair of gloves for my daughter. Oh, just as a sort of side note, whenever I do a lot of sourcing in a day, particularly if it's bag sale style, I will just divide everything out by the number of pieces that I got that day, and then use that as my cost of goods. So for everything you're going to see today, it's 57 cents an item. I include in there anything that I purchased for myself or my family, because technically it's all still stuff that's coming in for that. I also got myself this little shirt. It's just like a little lavender, like yoga style shirt, and so I picked that up for myself. A couple more things that I just picked up for my closet. This was a pair of sort of Cuddle Duds leggings. I live in Minnesota where it gets cold. I say that as it's like 40 degrees out today, which is a 70-degree switch from where we were earlier in the week. We had gotten down to about 50 below zero. So it was very cold, so that stuck out at me as something that I may need in the near future. Please, dear God, not anymore. I also picked myself up just a plain white t-shirt, because who doesn't like a plain white t-shirt? And how often, people that buy thrift, how often do you find a plain white t-shirt that isn't covered in stains or has the gross armpit yellowing? So when you find one, you pick it up. I got myself a Wisconsin Badgers v-neck. I am originally from Wisconsin, and I'm a Badger fan. So always pick those up when I can. On to more exciting stuff for resale. So as I mentioned, I like vintage. So this is a vintage sort of sky blue, seafoamy blue wool pencil skirt. It has pockets, but it's Pendleton, and it's size 18 and made in the USA. So made in the USA is always a great kind of indication that something is going to be vintage. Not always, but I mean, it's a pretty... There aren't a lot of clothes that are still made in the US. So another item here, another Pendleton too. And if I didn't mention, those are a size 18. Same thing. These are wool lined, sort of a plaid, almost, I don't know, it's got almost like a gingham pattern to it. A little elastic waist. And again, it's Pendleton. And these ones are 16 petite. But I love Pendleton. This sort of wool plaid pant is very in right now. I will mention a few things in here, like I said, when I get something for myself or when I get something for my family. This is something that is probably going to be both for my family and then get relisted. It is a linen cabbie, well, it's the older tag cabbie blazer. And the reason I picked this up is because my daughter has to do a wax museum project, and so she has to dress up as part of that. So she's Mark Twain, so I figured a khaki blazer, she's going to wear khaki pants. I got her a wig, we'll do a little mustache, and we'll call that her little Mark Twain suit. But I thought this was just so cute with this little like ruffle detail in the back. So once she's done with that project, I will just list that. I mentioned that I got her a wig for this. Guess what? I thrifted the wig. It's just an older lady's wig, but I'm going to mess it up a little bit to give it more of that crazy Mark Twain hair. Another thing that I actually bought for my daughter, it's a Woolrich flannel shirt. When she's done wearing it, I will resell it because Woolrich is another brand that sells really well. Something I always pick up when the price is right is Loveys. So for those of you that don't know, Loveys are typically fairly inexpensive at thrift stores, and Anybody who's had a kid that's lost their favorite blanket or toy knows that that is a very sad occurrence, and you'll do almost anything to make them happy again. A lot of times parents buy backups once their kid decides on which one's their favorite. And so when you find them at thrift stores, relist them, and there are usually parents out there who are trying to find one. I've sold them for as little as $7. I've sold them for as much as $40. So it just depends on what you find. I don't look them up. I just get them, especially when, I mean, this one was 50 cents and this one was $1. But like I said, I divide it out over everything, so they're going to go in as 57 cents each. So there's a little Winnie the Pooh bear, and then there's a little, it looks like a lamb, and it says, Jesus loves me. So we'll get those guys listed. Some more clothing to go in. So this is a vintage London Fog red raincoat. So very classic style. It's got the, you know, the London Fog sort of vented back. The belt is with it. It's got a little bit of discoloration, so I'm going to run it through the wash and see what I can get out. But otherwise, even with that, I think it'll still sell really well, especially because it's a brighter color. You'll see a lot of London Fog in blacks and grays, but to find it in an interesting color, I was really excited about that. Let's see what else. Oh, this is from a different, I'll put that over there. Okay, some of the stuff is on hangers because I have my day kind of planned out, and you'll see my lighting setup behind me. I'm trying to decide if I want to keep this dress for myself. That's part of my love of vintage, is I love vintage for me, but I don't wear a lot of it because A, I'm not a teeny tiny petite thing, and a lot of times that's what you find vintage clothes in, because guess what? People used to be smaller. And then the second piece of that is sometimes it feels sort of costumey to me. So when I find vintage pieces that I think might fit, I tend to want to keep them. So I'm really trying to decide if I want to keep that or not. Super cute. So this is another London Fog vintage, you know, button-up trouser, sort of raincoat. The difference here is that this one has the zip-out plaid lining. So you can see it. It's a beautiful classic sort of red and black gingham. Sorry, there's the better light. Sort of a classic red and black plaid in there. Pockets, it's more of a gray color. It's got the belt. It is just in really great shape. Next up is just a Land's End, oh, excuse me, I think that was a size 12. I think both of those jackets were 12s, so I think that they probably came from the same person. This is a Land's End sort of longer tunic swimsuit cover. So it's got little pockets in the front. It's got this beautiful sort of applique detail around the neck. This one's a medium petite, or 10-12. This one I wouldn't have gotten if it wasn't a fill-a-bag. I had it in my hands as sort of a, well, if I don't fill the bag, I'll throw this in there kind of thing. And I didn't fill the bag, so I threw it in there. It is older tag cabbie. You can see that. Oh, you can't see it because it's behind the hanger. There it is. Older tag cabbie, size large. But it's just a simple, you know, button-up career piece. It's got two pockets in the front. Like I said, just a simple career thing. This is something I am excited to look up and see what it's all about. It is a dragon cape. So it's obviously for a kid. It's from Storybook Wishes. And it's a small medium. So I've never heard of this, but it just looked so cute. I figured there was a parent out there who really wanted their kid to be a dragon, or some kid that wanted to be a dragon. And it's got little sweet finger holes, like little finger elastics, so they can put that on there and run around with their hands out being a dragon. So I thought that was pretty cool. So interested to look it up and see what's up with the brand and if it's something that's sort of sought after. This again, something I may not have picked up if it hadn't been a bag sale, but it is Travelers by Chico's. It's a size 2. Anybody in the reselling world will say, hey, if you're going to pick up Chico's, you should probably make it a bigger size. I usually follow that rule too, but again, it was fill a bag, and it's got just such an interesting pleated texture to it and a lot of detail. I mean, around the cuffs, you can see there's the embroidery, there's beading, same thing around the front. So I figured for, you know, the 57-cent price, why the heck wouldn't I pick it up? This is another thing that, again, I probably wouldn't grab if it were to fill a bag, but it's a really cute Disney tank. So it's got the American flag. I figured it would have great keywords too, because it's got, you know, the Mickey stuff going on. It's also got the American flag. So as we get into the summer, I mean, that's something, that's an extra small. You know, that can be something that can be used for, you know, going to Disney. It's something that can be used for 4th of July, really any and all of the above. Oh, my chair rolled over something. This is another thing that I just picked up for me. Like I said, I'm a part-time reseller because I have a regular old 9-to-5 job. So for that regular old 9-to-5 job, when I go into the office, I need workwear. So this is a brand I don't know anything about, Eric's Signature. I just bought it because I really liked the print, and I thought it was kind of fun, and I tend to gravitate towards solids. So when I find a print that I like, I usually just pick it up. This is an item that my mother and I may have fought about in the store. When I say fought, I don't mean fisticuffs or anything, but she wanted to grab it, especially since I'm not supposed to be buying anything. But when you see something this awesome, you get it. So it is a pearl snap button Western style shirt with these beautiful embroidered roses. It has the pearl snap buttons on the cuffs as well. And then along the back yoke, that red piping detail goes through that as well. So just really, really cool piece. This is another swimsuit cover-up. So somebody must have donated their collection of swimsuit cover-ups, because this one it's fresh produce. It's not a brand I've ever found before, actually, and I know there are a couple YouTubers who talk about it, but it's not something that I've ever found. So I figured for, again, bag sale prices, it's a size small, it's all cotton, but it's just like a really pretty sort of beachy print. Here is, when you talk about picking up new cabbie versus old cabbie, and if you don't know what I mean by that, so cabbie redid their tags, so this is the older cabbie tag, the new one is a square style, but this was one of those things where I think it's interesting and cool enough that, you know, you pick it up, especially for the price. I'm sorry that the lighting keeps going in and out. I'll try and be better about staying on this side, maybe that'll help. But this is a fur vest, so it's faux fur in the front. It's got a zip up, it's a size large, it's all ribbed knit. It's in a really, really nice condition. I want to know what kind of yarn this is. It is, oh sorry, I just saw a squirrel run around outside. Oh, it's super soft because it's got alpaca. So it's acrylic, alpaca, wool, nylon, and spandex. So it's very soft. So to my mind, that's definitely the alpaca in there. Another fun vintage piece is this dress. Not a brand or anything that, you know, means anything, but it's, I think it's Chow Limited, size 12. That's, of course, vintage sizing. So anybody, like I mentioned, who's bought vintage, you don't buy your true size. You look at the measurements. So it's this. The top is a knit, but it has really pretty crochet detail around the neck. It buttons up the front, and then it's got embroidered flowers all over the front of it. And then it has an elastic waist and just sort of a long knit skirt. It probably falls mid-calf, and it still has the belt as well. So I think that's a really beautiful piece, especially heading into spring and summer. I think that there is some sweet little vintage loving gal out there who is going to just die over that skirt, that dress. This is another fun vintage thing that I picked up. It is, I think sometimes with vintage, my favorite thing is just finding like the weirdest things possible because it makes me happy. So this again isn't a brand or anything, but with most like 80s vintage, you're going to find that it's not going to be like brand run as much, you know, with the exceptions of your Tommies and your Ralph Lauren's and, you know, some of the older still around vintage brands, but most of the time with 80s and 90s, they're not going to be brands that you recognize. So don't feel like you have to stick strictly to, I recognize the brand. Sometimes the style itself is what people are going to be looking for, not necessarily a brand name. So this, as I was saying before my phone rudely interrupted me, this is Matches, California. It is just a cotton, just a plain old cotton shirt. And when I shouldn't say plain old, but the fabric is certainly just pretty average. But if you look, there are these shapes that are embroidered on there, and they're embroidered on there with a silver thread. It buttons up the front. The buttons, I mean, these are the things that when you think about the way that clothing is designed now and sort of the fast fashion mindset, these are the sorts of details that you don't get anymore. So I think that that's what drives a lot of people to vintage specifically, is because while yes, you're getting something that's unique and isn't made anymore, it also has, even on something that's just a plain cotton shirt, you get such interesting details that come along with it, and a certain like level of quality that we don't really find in our clothes anymore. So yeah, like these buttons are something, you know, they've got this little metal center, the little white plastic around it. This lovely item even has pockets on the side. Even the elastic around the waist. I mean, this was details that were done to this. You know, it made it almost look like it's got this braided design to it. And so if I didn't say that's a size 14. And then the last item, fairly certain the last item from that trip, this trip, is a real one-of-a-kinder, I think. So the brand is Magnet. Again, I don't think it's a brand that anybody knows. It's a size large, but it is a union suit. So it's a full-length pantsuit, pajamas. It's got the little rear flap in the back, because who isn't looking for that lovely functional detail? And then in the front, it's got this little Christmas embroidery on there. So I will probably, you know, get this listed now. I'm fine with listing stuff outside of the holidays because I just want to get it in inventory, and in my experience, people will buy holiday items year round. So I'm fine with listing that. And then either A, somebody's going to grab it in advance of next year, or B, it'll go around a few times and I'll wait for the holidays to come out. Either way, I'm totally fine with it. And so that's going to be my first little haul that I'm sharing with all of you. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, like I said, or any comments, anything that I could do better, please, you know, comment below. If you want to follow along in this journey, feel free to subscribe. And please be kind, since this is my first attempt at a video. I'm really excited to continue sharing my journey with all of you. Thanks again for watching. Bye!